Hey everybody, we're Hillside Outlaws, and we're live in the living room.
One, two, three, four.
Well, it started with that honky-tonk dance floor. I swear that she was leading me on, but it ended with some kicked-in truck tail lights. Her boyfriend let me know I was wrong. I don't steal, cheat, or lie. I don't take it if I know it ain't mine. So how was I to know she was here with her man? She never had a ring, never had a ring on her hand. Woo! Well, this bouncer buddy tore up my t-shirt. Bartender, he was watching me burn. And her boyfriend left some holes in my bumper just for show. I guess we'll call this lesson learned. I don't steal, cheat, or lie. No, I never would have crossed that line. So how was I to know she was here with her man? She never had a ring on her hand. Black eyes and pepper tailgates. God knows just what the neighbors must think. But this is my defense. Hey, I'm innocent, man. She never had a ring, never had a ring on that hand. Woo! I had a ring around my eyes, though. Don't be flirting with that fatal attraction. Be as gentle as a gentleman can. This town can turn you into an outlaw, son, even as an innocent man. Don't steal, cheat, or lie. Don't ever think of crossing that line. But you know I can't pretend it won't happen again. She never had a ring on her hand. Black eyes and a pepper tailgate. Now I know just what the neighbors think. But how was I to know when she asked me to dance? She never had a ring, never had a ring on her hand. Woo! Make sure you double check and then you check again. And fellas, buy her a big ring. You want to protect your investment. Outlaw out.
Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Live in the Living Room. I'm your host Dom from Country Chat with Dom. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and press the bell so you don't miss any future performances you really don't want to miss out. Kicking us off was the brilliant Hillside Outlaws with their song Ring on Her Hand. Make sure you are following Hillside Outlaws on their social media. The handles are just below. Now coming up next is the stunning Kaleb Scherer with Hasn't Happened Yet.
Barely 21, fresh out of school, with a dime store 6-string, strumming on a bar stool, drinking lukewarm beer with a half-written song. Not a doubt in his mind that it won't take long before he's up on that stage every Friday night to a sold-out crowd under the neon light. So keep on singing, playing them songs, knowing one day that they'll all sing along. Living that life, traveling the world, torching fame and good-looking girls, and a house on the hill paid for with a string of hits. But it just hadn't happened yet. 5 years later, he didn't count on this. Still sitting in the same bar, playing for tips, but he just met a guy. He's got a meeting next week, Yeah, things are looking up, oh, just wait and see, 'cause he'll be up on that stage every Friday night to a sold out crowd under the neon lights. So keep on singing, playing them songs. Know one day that they'll all sing along, living that life, traveling the world, fortune, fame, and good looking girls, and a house on the hill paid for the string of hits. But it just hadn't happened yet. Got his big brain, a 30-minute slide and an album on the way. Yeah, stars light up, it's so close that he could touch. So keep on singing, playing them songs. Know one day that they'll all sing along, living that life, traveling the world, fortune, fame, and good-looking girls. They'll keep on singing, playing them songs. Know one day that they'll all sing along, living that life, traveling the world, fortune, fame, and good-looking girls, and a house on the hill paid for with a string of hits, and a house on the hill paid for with a string of hits. But it just hadn't happened yet. No, it just hadn't happened yet. No, it just hadn't happened yet.
That was Kaleb Scherer with Hasn't Happened Yet here on Live in the Living Room. Another wonderful performance there. Just make sure you are following Kaleb on socials, which are, the handles are just below. Now coming up next is the brilliant performance from the Safe Haven. Here they are with their song, Starlight.
Colors in my mind, it's more than black and white.
The Safe Haven with their song Starlight here on Live in the Living Room. I'm absolutely loving the show so far today, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to be following The Safe Haven on their socials as well. Be sure to check them out on all of their handles. Now, be sure to go over to our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter because we're now starting to announce the details about the next Live in the Living Room Gives Back event. It's happening on November the 6th at the Bedford Pub in Balham, which is in London. It's going to be another wonderful event, so be sure to get your tickets now. Now, coming up next is the wonderful performance from Blake Dagley with Ain't Going Down Like This.
You like lightning, you like thunder, you're like a raging storm out on the sea. You show me no mercy, you sure don't care about me. You're all the things inside of me that I don't want to be. So don't you tell me your lies, don't you patronize me, 'cause I ain't going down like this, I ain't going down like this. You can't drag me down no more. It ain't going down like this, it ain't going down like this. You can't drag me down no more. You're like a whisper, you're like a scream, you're like a tragedy and some unending dream. You're like gravity, you're weighing down on me. You're unwielding of the things that you ask of me. So don't you tell me your lies, don't you patronize me, 'cause I ain't going down like this, I ain't going down like this. Can't drag me down no more. I ain't going down like this, I ain't going down like this. You can't drag me down no more. 'Cause I don't wanna feel this way, I don't wanna feel this pain no more. So I ain't going down like this, I ain't going down like this. You ain't dragging me down no more. It ain't going down like this, it ain't going down like this. You ain't dragging me down no more.
Blake Dagley with Ain't Going Down Like This here on episode 20 of Live in the Living Room. Another brilliant performance. Just make sure you are following Blake on his socials. They are just below. Now, make sure you click subscribe to Live in the Living Room because if you don't, you really do miss out on a lot of good content. Throughout the season so far, we've had some amazing performances. I mean, we're on episode 20 already. We've had so many great compilations. We've featured songs from Country on the Coast. We've featured songs from the Black Deer Festival. And if you miss any of the shows, you won't if you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. Again, they are just below. Now, coming up next is Brad Good, and here he is with his performance of Who I Am.
I've been lost, not been found, been washed up, gave up and climbed up and came back down. Been all alone in a crowded room, even to myself so well nobody knew who I've been. I paid my dues, finally made enough wrong turns I could push on through to be who I am. I've been shot up, all full of lead, been thrown out along the broken road and left again. And I've been sick, running out of time, starving to death in an alleyway without a dime. I've been shattered, I've been scattered, I've been battered, and I've been bruised down deep. I've been used to help keep me down, laying down on the floor. I've been standing out in the rain till I damn near drown in the pain rolling down my face, just to find my place down a dead end road. Ain't nowhere to go. I've been let down by a wishing well, been a loser in a room full of winners, all smug as hell. I've been locked up inside of me, thought the demons like hell for a chance to be free. It's who I am, I paid my dues, I finally made enough wrong turns that I could push on through to be who I am. I paid the price, 'cause you're never gonna make it and you're never gonna roll the dice. So that's who I've been, yeah, that's who I've been. Oh, that's who I've been. And that's who I am.
Brad Good there performing his song, Who I Am, here on episode 20 of Live in the Living Room. Just be sure to be following Brad on his socials. His handles are again below. And make sure you are following all of the other wonderful artists that take their time out to send us these wonderful performances. Coming up now is a part of the show, though. We like to offer any help or guidance to those who are starting out in the music industry, or if you are a seasoned pro, just to give you some tips and tricks you may never have thought of before. Here is Geoff Meads from Tennessee Twin on choosing a microphone.
Hi, I'm Geoff Meads from Tennessee Twin, and this is a Live in the Living Room help video for choosing a microphone. Even if you've been an artist for just a short period of time, you've probably been thinking to yourself, I really should buy my own microphone. And there's lots of good reasons to do that. Of course, you want to sound your best for every performance, and getting the right mic is crucial for that. But also, particularly in these days of COVID, it's really key from a health point of view that you have your own mic and only you use it. Some venues, open mics and things, will insist now you bring your own, and that's probably the right thing. So if you're going to buy a mic, how do you choose one?
Well, I've been performing for 25 plus years and worked in audio all my life. So hopefully we can bring you some really good information and help you go away and choose the right mic for you. Now, microphone is crucial because, as we say in the audio business, garbage in, garbage out. The first piece of electronics that picks up your voice or your instrument when you're performing is the microphone. And no mic is perfect. In fact, many are far from it. If you can imagine, what you want really is often to be looking in a mirror. What you want the microphone to do is represent exactly what it sees, but from a sound point of view. But most microphones aren't like that. In fact, none of them are like a perfect mirror. Many of them are a bit like walking into one of those funfair hall of mirrors, in that they distort your voice just slightly. Now, some, like the Hall of Mirrors, can be flattering. They can make us taller and slimmer if that's what you're after. But other mirrors will maybe go the other way. And that's the sort of microphone we don't want on our voice. What we're after is a microphone that is going to give you an honest representation of your voice and maybe flatter it just a little bit. Every one of us sounds different when we sing, when we speak, or indeed when we play an instrument. So it's important that we get the right microphone for us. There are a few stable microphones that you can put in front of people and they just kind of mostly work. They might not get the absolute best result, but they'll be good enough. And one of those, and you've probably seen one before if you've been out performing at all, is this guy, the Shure SM58. Now, this has been around for a long time, and chances are if you've got a sound engineer that has to put a microphone in front of an act very quickly and just get on with the job, this is probably going to be one of the first things they choose. One of the nice things about the 58 is that it sounds okay with most people. And as you can see from this one, which is probably 30 plus years old, they can take a real beating and still work. This one still works just fine. But an SM58 is just one option. Just looking at manufacturers, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them, let alone looking at their individual models in the catalogue. So, how do we go about choosing one? Well, first thing, we need to understand a little bit about microphones and how they work. So the way they work really and truthfully splits down into three common types and a few other oddballs we won't worry about today. The first one, like our Shure SM58, is called a dynamic mic. It doesn't require any power. From that we call it a passive device. It has a coil attached to the diaphragm in there that's picking up the pressure changes. The coil sits in a magnet. When you stick a coil moving in a magnet, you get an electrical signal in the coil, and that's how the sound is created. Now, if we look at the other type of common microphone, we find something like this. This is a condenser mic, and a lot of studio microphones like this one are condensers. They're slightly different in that they have two plates inside which have an electrical charge across them, and when the sound pressure moves those two plates, you get a change in the electrical signal out due to changing capacitance. Now, because you need to put an electrical charge across there, and because the signal is very small and you need an amplifier inside this thing before it goes to a cable, actually we're going to need to send it some power. So condenser microphones normally either require phantom power, which is something you can switch on at the mixing desk, sends some power up the microphone cable and goes in here. The sound gets generated and it comes out. Or sometimes some microphones, some condensers, have a battery compartment in, and you can put a battery in to make them work. And there again, there's some more that will work either way, battery or phantom power. Now, condenser microphones can be used for live performance. However, for vocals, they tend not to be. You might find in some jazz and some classical type works, performances, you might find condenser microphones being used, but by and large in rock and roll and country and pop and all of those genres, you need something a bit more hardy. A condenser microphone is not as hardy and robust as a dynamic mic, so they tend to be in the kind of places where they'll be looked after a little bit more. In studio, this is the sort of thing you might use at home to record. These mics can be had from as little as £70, £80, $100 or so, right up to absolutely massive money. Not only do they get absolutely massive in cost, but like this particular model, they get pretty large in terms of size as well. And clearly this would not be practical for use in a live scenario. It is just for recording, and mostly vocal recording. Thinking about the applications just one step further, we've talked about dynamic mics and condenser mics. You'll also might find something called a ribbon mic. Now, a ribbon works by putting a very, very thin sliver of metal, typically something that looks like a bit of silver foil that you might wrap up your roast on a Sunday with, and that sits between magnets, and the movement of that generates the electricity. Now, ribbon mics are fantastic. They have a very warm sound, and if you're recording electric guitar amps, for example, they're very commonly used there, and a few other things like male vocals in the studio. But they're super delicate. You really have to look after them. So again, not really something for live performance. There are other types, pressure zone mics and so on and so forth, but we won't touch on those today because they're outside the use of our main subjects of performance and recording. So how do you choose one? The first big question is, of course, unfortunately, money. A microphone can cost you as little as £10 or £20 on Amazon, all the way up to, well, the sky's the limit. A vintage Neumann recording microphone might cost you anything from $25,000 to $50,000 and beyond. So you have to decide on a sensible budget. To give you some ideas, if you budget for around £100, $135-ish, then a Shure SM58 is going to be had easily for that kind of money. And it can last a lifetime. If you push your budget up a little bit further, there are some other models. Shure themselves do something called the Beta range, which is the next range above. I tend to favour the Sennheiser range. We particularly like those. Myself and Victoria sing with Sennheiser mics because we find them a little bit more even. They don't sound quite so raspy when they're pushed, and we've come to really like those, and that would be around about £150 or so. There is one other option, of course, that we should talk about beyond just stand-mounted or handheld dynamic microphones, and that is the radio mic. Now, this is a radio mic version of that Sennheiser that I just had. There are lots of pluses to a radio mic. All the big stars use them when they prance around a very big stage, and in truth that's really what they're designed for, big stages. You don't trip over wires, and you don't have to remember to bring a wire. You can move around, especially if you're a singer working with a big band, you can move around the band without tripping anybody over. But there are, of course, downsides to using a radio mic. One, you need batteries. If the batteries fail during a performance, obviously the mic stops working and you're going to look pretty red-faced. Even if they do fail, one of the things you should do with a radio mic is know how to change the batteries very quickly. And I know a lot of musicians that use these regularly who will walk around often with a couple of batteries in their pocket just in case it goes wrong. You don't just need this bit, you also need this bit. This is the receiver. The microphone is the transmitter, and you'll need one of these over by the mixing desk. The normal microphone output comes out the back, and of course you can stick that there with a power supply and it will receive the signals and just put it into the mixing desk just like any other microphone. That means carrying, of course, two things around, and also we have to worry about interference and range. A cable, when you have a normal microphone, pretty much works all of the time, unless you actually physically break it. Wireless microphones are very good these days and pretty reliable. However, if you go too far away from the receiving box, they will stop working. And also, if you have somebody transmitting on the same frequency, and it doesn't necessarily have to be another radio mic, it could just be someone with, strong Wi-Fi or all sorts of things that clash with radio mics these days, then you can get interference problems. A radio mic equivalent typically runs at about 3 times the price of the equivalent handheld wired microphone, so allow for that in your budgeting. The next thing to do, I would say, about buying a microphone is the old saying, buy cheap, buy twice. If you go cheap on a mic, chances are you're going to end up replacing it fairly shortly. That can be for a number of reasons. Could be because you're frustrated it actually doesn't sound quite as well as you'd hoped it does. It could just stop working, and all sorts of other things. So try and avoid actually going too cheap on a microphone. Buy something really good and it will last. Remember my SM58 here, this is 30 plus years old and still working just fine. So don't go too cheap. The next thing to do is don't just go on the advice of somebody, particularly someone random online in a forum. They don't know your voice, they don't know your instrument, and they don't know what microphone is good for you. They might be able to point you to a short list and give you some ideas, but in truth, you really need to try them. Now, it might be a bit awkward, but I would encourage you to go and find a good local music shop. Someone who will support you and let you try things before you buy them, and also maybe have a returns policy if you go out live with it once and it just doesn't sound right, you don't get on with it. If you can, take someone with you who can listen to you singing through a PA with that microphone briefly and give you some ideas if you sound warmer, if you sound more raspy or more airy or more detailed, or those kind of descriptive words can be quite useful to you when you're choosing it. If I was really pushing the boat out, or if I was trying a studio mic, for example, then I would try and record myself through that mic and then listen back to the playback. It's pretty difficult actually to listen to your own voice while you're singing and still sing at the same time. You really need to record it and then listen back if you possibly can. Now, that's going to be quite difficult to achieve in some cases, and I appreciate not everybody lives close to a good music store, but if you can get in and try them for yourselves before you buy, it makes the decision making process way easier. Remember that when you have a microphone, it doesn't end with what comes out of the back here. Remember that a wired microphone is going to need a cable, so we spend a decent amount of money on a good quality cable. It really does make a big difference. And it's not just the sound of the cable, but also its durability. How long is this thing going to last? Does it have good quality connectors that cleanly go in and out when they're being used? Does it look robust? Is it relatively thick, but not so thick that it makes it really difficult to move on stage? If you're budgeting for, about a 5 metre or so XLR cable, then, look to spend about £40-ish on a decent cable. There will be more expensive ones and there will be cheaper ones, but that's not a bad middle ground to go for. And then finally, look after them. Look after your microphone, look after your cable. Clean them down, particularly the handles. So a lot of these microphones, particularly the stage microphones, you will find that the tops will come off and you can clean them out. And after a long time, then the microphone manufacturers like Shure and Bayer and Sennheiser will sell you spare parts, so you can even replace the ball end if you need to later on. So that's it. Lots of information there about microphones. I hope that's been useful, and look forward to seeing you on the road.
That was Geoff Meads' advice on the best way of choosing a microphone. Thank you so much, Geoff, for coming on the show. Make sure you are following Tennessee Twin, though, on their socials. They are just below. If you found that useful, or if you want to learn different aspects about being a musician, or to find out any other tips or tricks that may help you out in developing yourself, be sure to check out the other 19 episodes. There are different ideas, different kind of advice videos. Check them all out and you probably learn something. I know I certainly have. Now, if you'd like to appear on Live in the Living Room itself, whether it's being a performer, being an interview with myself, or whether you want to give an advice video, be sure to hit us up on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, Live in the Living Room. Our handles are just below. And send us a message. Either myself, Dom Crook, James Vince or Rachel Selleck will pick it up and we'll get back in touch with you as soon as possible. We'll get you on the show. Now, coming up next is the final performance of the show. Here is Chad Boyd with his song, San Antone.
Ears too tired to listen, eyes too tired to see, heart that's fed up with the thought of you and me. All tires on the highway, southbound and gone. By the morning, I'll be in San Antone, San Antone, San Antone. You be the one for a man who's been trying to move on, San Antone. Remind me of where I belong. Mama says we're made, but I couldn't see truth in the lies that you were telling me. My hopes and dreams are all dead and gone, but tomorrow I'll be in San Antone, San Antone, San Antone. Will you be the one for a man who's been trying to move on? San Antone, remind me of where I belong. Music City will tempt me with the words of your songs, but you ain't gonna make me leave home. San Antone, San Antone. Will you be the one for a man who's been trying to move on? San Antone, remind me of where I belong. San Antone, San Antone. Will you be the one for a man who's been trying to move on? San Antone, remind me of where I belong. Remind me of where I belong. A little tune for all those Texas songwriters in Nashville, a little disgruntled. Y'all come on home. Salud. Thank you, James. Thank you, Live in the Living Room. I appreciate it. Chad Boyd, Semper Fi.
Chad Boyd with his song San Antone, a wonderful way to finish the show. Absolutely fantastic. Be sure to be following Chad on his social media handles, again, just below. And the same again with all of the other artists that have appeared on today's show, because every single artist are here to help promote themselves, to promote the music, and to just share what they can do. And so far, all I've seen is amazing, amazing content. So be sure to give them a follow on their socials. I also want to say a massive thank you to the man behind the camera, to the people behind the scenes, to those that you don't get to see. Now, Sam Ellis is a massive part of the show. He doesn't show his face on the camera, or he doesn't post about it, but he is here and he's doing an amazing job. He's the one that edits all the videos together and makes the magic happen when it comes to the show. We wouldn't be here without him. Sam Ellis is on his socials. Be sure to hit him up. If you're wanting any help with mixing, with mastering, with production work, send him a message. He'll certainly get back in touch with you if he can. And to organise something, check out his band as well, Flatland Kings. Such an amazing sound. They performed for us at the Live in the Living Room with back events in the past, and I cannot wait to see him again live in the very near future. Such a wonderful band. Be sure to be following the Flatland Kings on their socials. Take care. I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.